Hey guys, welcome back. We haven't done it in a while, but we're going to do a synopsis, and hopefully you did that and got ready for today. Remember, we were doing pugno, pugnare, pugnavi, pugnatus, right? The four principal parts there. And we were doing the third person plural of each form. If you remember, guys, in the box up above, though, you had to translate those first four boxes. Pugno means I fight, pugnare, to fight, pugnavi, I fought, and pugnatus, having been fought. All right, those should be your translations up at the top. But now let's get on to our verb forms and aspects. All right. So first off, we got to remember something. These three tenses, the present, the imperfect, and the future, are known as the present system. The present system. All right. So how does the present system work? Well, we have to find a stem, right? For every time we make a verb form, we start with a stem, right? That is that root part of the verb that tells us the meaning of the verb. And how do we find the stem for the present system? Well, we go to the second principal part. And the second principal part of pugno is pugnare. All right, and what do? We drop the RE and we keep this. This is our stem. Not always with the macron, but sometimes with the macron. We remember the rule when we do not have the macron, and that is with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? If it ends in a T or an M or the NT, right, you do not lengthen that particular vowel, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. All right, so we're going to start with the present. Well, what is the present? How do you form that? Well, you form that with the stem plus the tense sign. And what are the tense signs? ST, mus, tis, nt. Right? This is first person singular and plural, second person singular and plural, and third person singular and plural. So we take the pugna, we drop the macron, and we end up with pugnant. All right? There. And that is our first form, pugnant. Okay? Now we go to the imperfect. Now with this one, we do keep the stem with the macron. So we would start with pugna. All right? And with the imperfect, we have what is known as the tense sign. And if you remember, the tense sign for the imperfect is ba, B-A. But because the NT is here, this macron does not, there's no macron on this particular A. So it's pugnabant. All right? Remember how that one works, pugnabant. All right? Then we have the future, and we have a different one here. This one can be tricky, right? But we have pugna again, and then we're going to add another tense sign, but this is the one that goes bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, bunt. Bo, bis, bit, bimus, bitis, bunt. And since we're using the bi, then is your standard future tense sign, but in the third person plural it changes to bu, and so you have bunt. All right, pugnabunt. All right, so those are our present system forms: pugnant, pugnabant, and pugnabunt. Now, we need to have our aspects. Remember, there are multiple aspects for every verb. This one word can have 3 or 4 different aspects and different ways of looking at it. So let's see if we can remember them. First off, we're always going to start with they, right? Because that's what the NT indicates, third person plural. So the simple one, just a snapshot, is they fight. They fight. Just a picture, all right? But suppose you were running like we are now a video, and we were taking a picture of that, we would say, if we were watching it as not a snapshot, but they are fighting. That's more the video form. We call this the simple. We call this the continuous. They are fighting. It is a continuous action. They are fighting. Then we have the simple again, but it's emphatic. We add, they do fight. All right, and that makes it more emphasized. We can also do well to make questions out of this. Do they fight? They do fight, right? When we make questions out of things, we have a pugnante. Do they fight? Okay, so they do fight. And then we have what is called the habitual. And your parents probably complain about this, maybe with your siblings or with people that they know, they always say, they always fight. They always fight. And that is the habitual. So this is the emphatic, and this is the habitual. This is something people do all the time, the habitual. All right? So those are the four aspects for pugnat. Then, erase this so you don't get confused there. All right? We go to pugnabat. All right? And pugnabat, again, we have different aspects. This action is not complete in past time. Perfect means complete. Imperfect, therefore, means that the action is not completed in past time. And the standard translation for this one, guys, is they were fighting. All right? They were fighting. They used to fight. So that's the continuous in past time. They used to fight. Habitual. They kept on fighting. Continuous again. They kept on fighting. They kept on fighting. So this one's habitual. They used to fight all the time. That's a T there. They kept on fighting. And that is continuous. And then finally you can say they fought. But again, this is not understood as the perfect. This is understood as imperfect. They fought but not completed in past time. Okay? Therefore, continuous. So those are the four, for the imperfect tense. And then the aspects for the future are only two. There's a simple for that, and that's they will fight. They will fight. And then there is a continuous. They will be fighting continuously. They will be fighting over a run of time, like a video. They will fight, they will be fighting. So those are the forms for the present system. Those should be your aspects. Please note the different names for the aspects as you go through them. Now, we have a different form. These three tenses here, we deal with differently. These three tenses are known, this is the present system, present, imperfect, and future. And then we have the perfect system. Now for the perfect system, we use a different stem. That's why I separate them on the sheet. We use a different stem. What stem do we use? We use the third principal part. And those of you who know the first conjugation know that the third principal part would be pugnawi. All right? Pugnawi. Now, we drop the I, and that gives us our stem. So for all of these, the perfect, the pluperfect, the future perfect, this stem always stays the same. So we can write it in. It's not ideal, but we can write it in on all of them and then add our endings. Okay? Pugnaw, and again, pugnaw, right there. So we can add those and then add the stemnings. For the perfect, we have to remember our personal endings. The perfect tense is its own set of personal endings. And I always had you remember those by just saying them out loud quickly, right? Isti, it, imus, istis, and then finally, erunt, with the makron, erunt. So we add this third person plural personal ending onto this stem, the perfect stem, and we end up with pugnawerunt. Pugnawerunt. All right? Now, the pluperfect, couple of ways to look at it. We will say for now, though, that there is a tense sign for the pluperfect, and that is era. So we add the era. And sometimes that's lengthened. If it's S, if it's mus, if it's tis, it's lengthened. But when it's the third person, when we have that NT at the end, right? So you have stem plus tense sign plus personal ending. And so you have pugnawerat. All right? Now, remember, right, that the other way to look at this and say, well, that looks familiar to me because that is the third person plural of the imperfect of sum. That's why it looks familiar to you. And that's another way to look at the pluperfect tense. You add the imperfect forms of sum onto the stem. And that will get you the same result. And then finally, we have the one that most people make the little mistake on. You got to be really careful with this one. All right? And that is pugnaverint. Right? We have the ERI as our stem, and then as the tense sign, and then NT. All right? Adding on that. So we have the stem plus the tense sign plus the personal ending. Pugnaverint. Notice it's not unt, because unt we already have up here in the perfect. So it's erint. Okay? It's erint. All right. So that is, those are the forms. What about the aspects? Well, again, there are three. So there's the snapshot aspect. They fought. That is the one that is the snapshot of the completed action. They fought. Then we have they emphatically did fight. There's the emphatic form. But notice it's not do as it is up here in the present. It's did, because it's in the past. They did fight. Do fight is present. Did fight is past. They did fight. And then finally, the preferred translation, the one we use very often, is they have fought. And that is, so this is emphatic, this is simple, and they have fought is completed, but with reference to the present. They have fought. Now the nice thing about the other two tenses, guys, is that there's only one aspect you have to remember. All right? And for the pluperfect, instead of have, right, you had they had fought. That's absolutely in the past. They had fought. It's more than completed. It's way back. They had fought. They don't do it. They didn't do it last year. They had fought 10 years ago, but last year. So it's way in the past, more than completed. And then pugnaverint is that always confusing one. They will have fought. So these are both completed actions. This is completed with reference to the past. This is completed with reference to the present. I always give you the example of raising money. By next year, they will have raised $1 million. That's always a goal that people make. They will have fought. All right? So that is how the perfect system works. Now we're going to isolate our energies on the subjunctive, because that was the indicative. That was the indicative side of the column. Now we're going to go to the subjunctive side. We're going to see how we form the subjunctives. All right? So all of them are a little bit unique. All right? All of them are a little bit unique. So let's see how that works. If you remember from our sentence, I talked to you about how you form the present subjunctive. All right? The unique ways of forming the present, the unique way of forming the present subjunctive. And that is by taking the imperfect, perfect, and pluperfect subjunctive. I'm sorry, I should have had that up there. The pluperfect. Those are your four tenses. We don't have any aspects for this one because we used it in many different ways. So how do we do the present subjunctive? Well, we have what I told you in the last sentence was a stem vowel mutation. So we take the stem of the indicative, pugna, right? That's what the RE dropped off. And then this changes, this mutates to an E, all right? So you end up with pugne. Okay, pugne. Now, sometimes it'll have the macron, sometimes not. Since we're doing third plural, it does not have the macron. So yours should read pugnet. All right? Then, as far as the imperfect goes, we have to remember our principal parts. That's why you have to memorize those principal parts for vocab. How do we form? So this is the present formation of the stem. How do we find the stem for the imperfect? Well, there we take the second principal part. And the second principal part of pugno is pugnate, the infinitive. And that is our stem. And all we do to that stem is add the personal ending. So for the imperfect subjunctive, you would end up with pugnadet. For the perfect, it's not up on the board anymore, but if you look back at your homework and you see the pluperfect of indicative, the pluperfect indicative is the perfect subjunctive, and that would be pugnaverit. Notice, we've gone away, we've gone back to the third principal part stem for the perfect, and you'll notice we will do the same for the pluperfect. We're going to use that stem again. So we have pugna, right, here. And now, Pluperfect has a tense sign, and that tense sign is isse. I-S-S-E. Pluperfect subjunctive, pugnavisce, and we add the personal ending ent, and we have pugnaviscent. And that is your synopsis for this particular form. No translations necessary. Now, please remember, this weekend you have a synopsis for sum. You're doing second person singular for sum. And you have sentence number 2 on page 58, which is an English to Latin translation. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope we have a great weekend.